I don't get it. Just release the files, get it over with. President can talk about affordability and the economy. They're the ones who continue to play these games that make this a bigger and bigger issue. And Congress is talking about possible impeachment.
So what do you get when a bipartisan law is passed, signed by the president himself, and then the administration just fails to comply with it? Well, you get calls for impeachment and criminal prosecution. And by the way, that's not just coming from a Democrat, that's coming from Republicans also.
It's been so nerve-wracking. I think all of us are full of anxiety at this point. And, you know, that now that the files are released, we feel that it is a lot of files that don't have much information in them. So we're trying to figure out, you know, what is going on here, what kind of redactions were made. We can see some of these redactions were made obviously to protect, you know, again, the wealthy and the rich and the powerful men. So we are kind of a little disappointed with that.
This week marked what should have been a landmark moment in government transparency, a deadline for the release of hundreds of thousands of DOJ documents related to convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein was required under a bipartisan law passed by Congress and signed by President Trump to be, of course, released. Instead, the public got this.
This is one of the documents that the Justice Department released. It's 100 pages.
Right.
This is what it looks like. I don't know if you can see. It's all black. It's just 100 pages of redaction. That's the transparency we're getting.
Which Tweet of the Year stated it was more blacked out than Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon Christmas party. I know it's a grim situation, but if you don't laugh, you'll cry, etc. But this, it proved that following the law apparently remains optional for the Trump administration. See, let's go back, right, and refresh our memory. In November, Congress passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act, a bipartisan mandate requiring that the Attorney General release all unclassified DOJ documents related to Epstein within 30 days of enactment. Trump signed it into law, setting a December 19th deadline for the Department of Justice to make these records public.
Ahead. But we also need to be clear at this moment. I've been on the phone with Jamie Raskin and the Judiciary team most of the day. And we agree. We're going to likely have to take legal action if the Trump administration continues to stonewall, continues to not provide us full transcripts, and clearly they don't have a real interest in transparency. The searchable bar that they've included that's supposed to be searchable for the public is not even functioning correctly. And so this is not a real release. This is continuing a cover-up that's been going on now for months.
Democratic Congressman Robert Garcia of California, thank you so much. Appreciate it, sir.
But then Friday came. The Justice Department released only a portion, hundreds of thousands of pages in initial batches, and withheld many others, citing redaction work to protect victims' identities and other sensitivities. However, Fox Digital, of all places, caught this little anecdote. Not to mention Democrat Ro Khanna claimed that the DOJ has 300 gigabytes worth of Epstein files in their possession. They only released 2.5 gigabytes.
We just got out of a briefing by Congressman Ro Khanna. What was released today is only 1% of the file size in the possession of the DOJ.
First of all, the DOJ is stonewalling. I mean, President Trump is saying, give the files. But to put this in context, we've received 33,000 pages. That's less than 1 gigabyte. The FBI has said publicly that there are about 300 gigabytes of files. That means the DOJ today released well less than 1%. To put that in context, I've done major investigations of big oil companies. Usually you get about 1 million documents the first time. So they are not cooperating. And most of the things that have been released based on our cursory review have been already public information. What we need to do when we get back is pass Thomas Massie and my bill to demand the full release of the Epstein files. The Speaker shut down Congress because he did not want to vote on that bill. We are going to force a vote on that bill. All 212 Democrats are on it, and you have 11 Republicans, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert. And right when we get back, we're going to have this press conference and force a vote so that DOJ actually releases all the files.
I mean, it's no wonder we saw the political firestorm in response, because it wasn't a vague request or discretionary guideline. It was clear, a statutory requirement passed by the House, adopted unanimously in the Senate, and signed by the president. And Thomas Massie, in a tweet, suggested this is as serious as it gets. He said that a future DOJ could criminally prosecute Attorney General Pam Bondi and others in the administration for breaking the law in regards to the Epstein Files Transparency Act. And also, Ro Khanna, who co-sponsored the Epstein Files legislation with Republican Massey, said that if the DOJ blocks any more release or fails to comply, it could result in further action, like, say, impeachment referrals, inherent contempt charges, or prosecution of officials who obstruct justice.
The Justice Department's document dump this afternoon does not comply with Thomas Massie and my Epstein Transparency Act. They released one document from a New York grand jury of 119 pages, totally blacked out. This despite a federal judge ordering them to release that document. And our law requires them to explain redactions. There's not a single explanation for why that entire document was redacted. We have not seen the draft indictment that implicates other rich and powerful men who were on Epstein's rape island, who either watched the abuse of young girls or participated in the abuse of young girls and the sex trafficking. The reality is Pam Bondi has obfuscated for months. She first said there were no more documents to be seen. Now she's admitting and releasing hundreds of thousands of documents, but it is an incomplete release with too many redactions. Thomas Massie and I are exploring all options. It can be the impeachment of people at justice, inherent contempt, or referring for prosecution those who are obstructing justice. We will work with the survivors to demand the full release of these files, to demand justice for the Epstein class and accountability.
I mean, think about this for a second and how remarkable that is. An administration whose own party helped write, pass, and enact a transparency law now facing blowback because the executive branch won't fully comply with it, with representatives from both political parties signaling that this is not merely a delay, it's a statutory violation. And that's the thing, right? The politics here are so unique because it's not just Democrats who are irritated and calling this to attention. Republicans like Massie, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, are openly exasperated, noting that this entire process has repeatedly dragged on because this current administration has resisted the release for months and only now claims victim protection or redaction issues.
How will you know if they've released all the materials? Well, one of the ways we'll know is there are people who have covered this case for years, and I've talked to them in private, and they know what some of the material is that's back there. But the other way that we're going to know is the victims' lawyers have been in contact with me, and collectively they know there are at least 20 names of men who are accused of sex crimes in the possession of the FBI. These would reside in the FD 302 forms. The FBI fills out these forms to summarize or memorialize what a witness gave them as far as testimony when they interviewed with the FBI. So if we get a large production on December 19th and it does not contain a single name of any male who's accused of a sex crime or sex trafficking or rape or any of these things, then we know they haven't produced all the documents. It's that simple.
And lawmakers across the board have noted that the statute doesn't allow for delay simply because the redaction work is burdensome or too much work. I mean, hell, they pulled all-nighters last go around when they had to find Trump's name in the files. You remember that? And as I said earlier, right, you know what's so crazy about all this is that Fox News were the ones to highlight a key component that many seem to have missed when the redacted files were released. They were the ones to catch that those redacted files were not just redacted to protect victims, but also the Justice Department used victim-style redactions for, quote, politically exposed individuals and government officials. I mean, when Fox News are the ones calling to attention how dodgy all of this is, you know it's grim for the
Hey,
president.
Midas Mighty, it's Ben, Brett, and Jordy, and we just want to thank you for being the backbone of this movement.
This year tested us more than ever, but together we proved that pro-democracy voices don't just compete, we win.
We took on the entire MAGA machine, won a Webby for Podcast of the Year,
the MeidasTouch podcast,
and you were with us every step of the way.
And trust us, what we're working on next is bigger, bolder, and built for 2026.
Let's keep this momentum going, spread the word, we are just getting started.
Shout out to the Midas Mighty!